Alright all, so for this video what I'll be doing is I'll be going back to the GameBoy Grand Prix series, or whatever it is I called it, and doing the third Game Boy that I went across now. So to cast my memory back, because my memory is absolutely atrocious, I can see that I've written down on here that the screen needs a new screen lens, which obviously it needs a new screen lens, a new shell, new buttons, and a new screen. So I'm guessing I'm hinting at that in IPS, but we're not going to do that. Just having a quick look back over this, so just so yourselves can see it. So this one is one of the more damaged and not looked after Game Boy DMG's originals. There's a term we have over in the UK that's basically probably old-fashioned now and show my age, but it's manky. It's what we would call manky, and it's not the Pokemon. It just means something that's really, really disgusting. What I was thinking originally is I was going to try and brighten up the shell and try to restore it that way. But after looking at it off the video afterwards, I decided that I'd go down a different course. Now, the plan for this one is I've got a new shell for it. I've got a lovely new screen lens for it. What I'm going to do is use the buttons that I used for the first GB DMG, which are here, which are also manky. Yet these ones that came with the, where's the power switch? With the first DMG that I made into the white and black one. So we're going to reuse them. We're going to get rid of these horrid ones, and maybe at a later date I'll try getting the paint off them or whatever. But these are in a much better state once they've had a bit of a clean, because I didn't clean them for the last video because I didn't use them. But yeah, so we've got the batteries in. Let's see if she still turns on, because I'm presuming it works. It does. And we've got quite bad vertical lines there, but that's not an issue. We can get around that with some soldering skills. Not that I have any, but I can do it. Yep, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking this apart. So this little bugger here just messed up my unscrewing montage. Basically, from what I can gather, if I get two of these screws here, they're all the same, but basically the screws that went in this DMG are not the original screws. You can see the kind of like the Phillips 4-prong heads, as opposed to what you'd get as a standard tri, plus they look relatively brand new, which you wouldn't expect off a console this old. So what's actually happened is this little bugger here has actually threaded and won't come out for love nor money. So what I'm going to have to do is spend some time trying to get that out so I can actually get into the shell. So back in a tick. Do not be alarmed, for she is okay. Yeah, seriously, I could not get that like strip screw out for love nor money. Tried the old rubber band technique, tried even using other kinds of things I've got around and other screwdrivers. Couldn't get it out, so I had to get the drill to it, which I really didn't expect to get the drill out today. But yeah, so this is a good problem to go into actually. Oh no, is it stuck again? That's fine, it's come out. Luckily I'm getting rid of the shells, so it's not that big of a deal, but I've managed to, there's some little damage I've done in there, but nothing much for the sake of getting it out. But yeah, it's a good thing to get into if you get these kind of cheaper screws. They just thread like instantly and just implode, which can be the breaking. If you imagine if I put a brand new shell on this and needed to get back into it or whatever, that'd have been a bit of an issue. But yeah, so I got the drill to it, managed to get it off. I haven't had a look in this yet. I mean, I'm kind of like concerned now, like as if it's cursed or something, because this shell being the only one that had sellotape around it and brand new screws, as if it was trying to keep something in. Who knows? Let's have a look. Oh no, we're okay. It's not looking too bad to the naked eye so far. Okay, that's good. So yeah, after all that palaver, that's what I get for saying it was going to be an easy video. It absolutely hasn't. I should need to stop saying that. Yep, so I'm going to finish off with this. I'm going to give it all a bit of a clean, and then we will get a new shell slapped on it. there we go, we got these looking all spick and span now, and they've all kind of turned out alright. Some of the buttons still have a few scratches and a few marks on them, but like I say, I wanted to kind of reuse as many parts as I could, especially because of the shell that I've got with this one that I'll be showing you now actually. So the next step for me is, that's an old GBA shell. My desk is surrounded by GBA shells. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Smashing. So, there we go. This one. So, this is another shell from the good guys at Retro 6. And what it is it should be their version of grey, basically. Which looks a damn sight better than the one we had earlier. So, for example, the shell that this originally came in that you saw me unscrew with a drill to help was this one here. So you can already see like the big difference, and it's just such a nicer grey. I don't believe it's exactly the same grey. I mean, weirdly enough, where's that DMG I had over here? So it is semi-similar to just this other one I had laying around from a different video or whatever. So it is looking really good. You can obviously tell the difference because it says for Nintendo rather than Nintendo Game Boy. But I quite like Retro 6 stuff. So yeah, so what the plan is for me now is, now everything's all kind of clean. And all the buttons are clean and everything's just had a good wash. Is I'm going to screw this all back together. Apart from the front shells. So if you've seen one of my previous videos, what we're going to have to do with the screen is we're going to have to play Game Boy Xylophone game, which is where basically we have to have the Game Boy on with the soldering iron and just kind of reheat the glue up underneath the screen to get rid of the vertical lines that you saw on the screen earlier.
Several days later.
This Game Boy, it is cursed. Yep, so a few days have passed since the last recording I did. Basically, it started off really well, as usually that I've done so many times before, of just kind of working the soldering iron across the kind of to glue the contacts back together on the screen. Everything was going really well. I'll show a video of it now just so you can kind of see it all going well. And then I realised the actual middle of the screen itself, I don't know if someone had tried to repair it at all in the past or if it just had some actual damage, but basically the middle of the screen wouldn't work for love nor money. It didn't matter how long I tried to and get that old glue to stick back together to kind of reunite the contacts. So then I had to go a bit more drastic and I tried messing with the contacts under, say, the screen itself. It was one of them all or nothing kind of things. It was either, I've got a broken kind of screen anyway that I can't fix, I'm going to have to dig a bit deeper. Then this happened. Yeah, so as you can see, with the contrast just even up or down, the screen is absolutely kaput. And at that point I was that frustrated at working through to the night to try and get it fixed that I decided I was going to set out and do what I originally did, which is to get a IPS on this bad boy, which is where, if I've got it somewhere over here, Z-Labs come in. So I put in an emergency order on Z-Labs for next day delivery. Thank you very much, guys. Ordered the screen in, and what I'm going to actually do is fit an IPS screen on this now, rather than use the old screen and maybe leave the old screen for a different project if I can at some point get it working again, or just chalk it down to it being a bad loss. It happens from time to time. I've never actually have it happened with a screen like this. The DMGs are normally quite reliable. Don't let it put you off trying to repair them yourself. If it's always worth having a go yourself. If you feel confident enough with the soldering iron. Like I say, it's the first time it's happened, and I've fixed all manners of Game Boys. Never ever had it happen before. So yeah, so the plan for this now is we're going to switch this over to an IPS screen. I'm going to switch over to doing the soldering, because what you have to do with these newer screens, because what I actually ordered is one of the new V3 screens that come with like all kinds of fantastic colour pitch emulation and all this kind of cool stuff. So what I'm going to do is skip to me soldering the speaker on it, because you need to use the original speaker, so it requires a little bit of soldering to put the old speaker onto the new IPS screen, which is quite simple. So let's do that now. Okay, so I've kind of got everything ready to go. I've done some bits off recording that weren't too interesting, but I'll let you know what they are. So obviously you'll see me then fitting the old speaker, because these funny playing balls don't come with them. And I've just put this ribbon cable in here ready for it to go into the main motherboard. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but like the reason this is a bit more kind of complicated than say most screens like a GBA screen or a Game Boy Color screen is, if I've still got the whole board here, yeah. So this is like the original motherboard that you saw me earlier with, the broken one. And you can see that the entire kind of screen is welded onto this main kind of screen board, which is what actually needs to be on if you get a new IPS or a new screen. So rather than trying to hunt for a new replacement screen that could be an older GBA screen, kind of like the one over there, it makes more sense to kind of splurge the money and get an IPS, especially because how hard they can be to find a replacement. You might as well just pay the money and get a new IPS screen. But yeah, so we're pretty much ready. All I've done off screen, like I said, is added that ribbon cable. And I've also added the little sticky into this shell. Now it's worth noting, if you're kind of following along yourselves, to fit it into your own Game Boy or your Game Boy shell. If you're sticking it into original shell, one that you haven't bought of kind of like a third party, 9 times out of 10 you'll have extra, what would you call these, like extra divots, extra columns kind of things for screws. You'd need to cut them out yourself, but because this is a third party, and most of them nowadays, especially the Retro 6 stuff, takes into consideration you're more than likely to put an IPS in it, they don't have them in, but it's just something to worth keep in mind. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fit in the screen. Oh, lovely new screen. Oh, look at that, it's beautiful. Yeah, so we're going to stick this down. I'm going to line it up as best I can and say that looks alright to me. I'd say that looks good. I can always slightly readjust it later on, but I think that's good. Yep, so then there's a separate ribbon cable here, which just pops into the screen here. There we go, that's in securely now. So what you do then is you take your, if I've still got them around here somewhere, the buttons from the last video, which again are from the original Game Boy, we're going to stick them in now. It's also worth noting as well, from the, I didn't expect it, but from the IPS I ordered from Z Labs, they actually sent over a screen as well, like a replacement lens, but I'm going to use that for like a future build. I'm going to stick with the one I got from Retro 6 just because that's initially how I bought it for it. So let's start getting these all put in. There we go, and now we can start kind of assembling the Game Boy. Want to make sure that's nice and secure. Flip this over, get it installed back in, get the speaker sat nicely. There we go, so I'm going to get this screwed down now. What we can do then is take the original motherboard and stick it back into place, make sure that's in quite tight. Okay, so I've kind of gone through, and rather than shorten this video, I've gone all the way back through the Game Boy and tightened up all the screws and readjusted the screen a bit, all the really boring stuff. But now we should be in a good position to do the final bit of getting this screen lens on. Now, like I said, I'm going to stick with the one I got from Retro 6 and the one I actually got with the IPS, I'm going to keep for just like a later project or something. But let's get this screen lens on, and then we should be good to give it a little test and see how it looks. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going over the prices as well, that I paid for everything in a moment. But like I say, it's worth keeping in mind that maybe you could put down to the reason the screen broke was maybe my own fault. Maybe it was me that was messed up, or maybe it was just a particularly bad screen. Who knows? Choice is up to yours, but feel free to, when I give the prices, just leave off the IPS. Let's get this nice and snug. Whoops. On there, and make sure it's nice and good. Let's give it a wipe down and get it nice and clean. Right, let's see if she turns on. Hey, there we go, look at that. How cool is that? So yeah, so like I said, because I kind of quiet. It's good enough that the sound works up. But yeah, so because I got the newer V3 Funny Playing IPS, what it can actually do is, depending on what mode it's on, you can change the brightness of the screen like that, which is really cool, just by flicking up and down. It's got like a really nice flippy rocker switch that I can't really show very well. It's not like a disc spinner kind of thing like what's on the original GB DMGs. But then what you can actually do, let's get it on max brightness just so you can see it with your eyeballs. If you press it in, I believe it changes the mode. There you go. So it changes the mode, and then you can change it to lots of lovely other different colours, which is a really cool thing if you think about it, because obviously the DMG didn't have any kind of colour at all. It's just not in its guts. But let's give it a test out, check that all the buttons work and everything. Looks all good to me. I might need to take it out and bugger. Might need to readjust the screen a little bit because it looks like I have got it a little bit off. But yeah, I'll do that after this video and give it a clean up, ready for it to go to sale. So let's talk money, because money's always a fun thing to talk about. Now, so like I've already mentioned in previous videos, I paid about 500 quid for this lot of Game Boys, which makes each Game Boy £20 each. The shell, this nice grey looking, original looking shell from Retro 6 cost £5.99, which is pretty decent. The glass, because it needed a new lens anyway because it didn't come with one, was £4.06, which is, again, it's quite nice, kind of matches the original kind of DMG feel. Now, the IPS, like I said, you can take it or leave it if you were to repair the screen or just not have as bad luck as kind of I had. The IPS screen actually cost me £56.37. Now, what it actually did cost me is about £49, but I'm taking into consideration that because I was so impatient, I paid for express next day delivery, which, thanks for Z Labs for that. So that gives us quite a hefty total compared to what it was. So that total's actually come to about £86.42. Now, obviously, I'll make a bit more money off this because it's an IPS DMG and people are more willing to kind of pay that money for it sometimes because of the being able to see the screen and the work being put into it. So what I'll normally kind of sell DMGs for, depending on how far I've kind of gone with the shell and everything, and the fact, you know, I've saved a bit of money on this by using the original buttons and the rubbers were all working absolutely fine. I'll normally sell one of these for about 100 to 120. Now, that might not sound like a lot of money. To be honest with you, some things like DMGs, you don't really go in for the profit. It's nice to make a profit on it, don't get me wrong. You know, it's nice to know that people enjoy your work and everything like that. But DMGs aren't really sought after anymore. There's only very specific collectors who go for DMGs, and that's mainly because, like what I've said before, if you're going to spend about 100 quid on a Game Boy, something that can play Game Boy games, 100 to 150. I mean, you can even buy Game Boy SPs nowadays for, you know, unmodded, for about 50 quid, which will play everything from Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and the same with, like, if you were to get a modded Game Boy Advance, which go for anywhere between 100 and 150 quid. So it's a very niche thing that only specific people who kind of maybe like the form factor or just for nostalgic reasons like it. But yeah, this will be going up on my shop sometime soon. Again, what I've mentioned before is once I've gotten all these Game Boys out of the way and got them all sold, I'll be making a video of exactly what I sold them for, taking into account fees and everything. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's been a bit of a long and a crazy one because this Game Boy was a little cursed for me. Everything kind of went wrong for it, so I'm going to call it the cursed Game Boy. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. If you like the videos I'm putting out, please like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTuber guffy crap. I'd really appreciate it, and I hope you look forward to the next one. Thanks, guys.